3 players were cut just 3 days before opening night. 4 others had already been removed from a locker room that league insiders described as increasingly divided. At the same time, the WNBA announced a revised fine structure after 2 consecutive seasons of controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark, and fans across the country immediately called the new punishments a slap on the wrist. What looked like 3 separate stories were in fact one. The Indiana Fever were not simply finalizing a roster, they were entering opening night after months of internal conflict, roster instability, league-wide scrutiny, and enormous pressure surrounding the biggest name in women's basketball. To understand what just happened, you have to go back to where it all started. The Indiana Fever front office did not hire Stephanie White hastily. They reviewed hours of film from her previous coaching stints, conducted in-depth interviews, and consulted league insiders. White's profile was clear, defensive-minded, structured, and built on a strict hierarchy where every player executes a defined role. Then, on draft night, Caitlin Clark's name was called and the arena exploded. Sold-out arenas followed, jersey sales surged, national television contracts materialized. Caitlin represented everything modern basketball had evolved into: dynamic, fast, and transition-driven. But the question nobody asked at the time was this: what happens when a coach who demands structure inherits a player who thrives in chaos? Those 2 decisions, hiring White and drafting Clark, sowed the seeds of everything that followed. The warning signs appeared early, but were easy to dismiss. The Fever alternated between dominant wins and baffling losses against teams they should have beaten. Post-game press conferences became carefully managed exercises. White repeatedly referenced doing things the right way, while players offered diplomatic, non-specific answers. On social media, teammates who had previously engaged constantly stopped interacting publicly. Cryptic motivational quotes began appearing, phrases about being loyal to oneself and not letting others dull your light. During team meals, players sat at separate tables, not divided by seniority or experience, but by ideology. Those who accepted White's system occupied one table. Those who questioned it sat at another. Film sessions reflected the same divide. Players in the front rows followed along with White's defensive breakdowns. Players in the back rows sat with their arms crossed, visibly disengaged. During games, the bench rose collectively after a defensive stop, and half of them would remain seated after an offensive highlight. These were not subtle signs for anyone paying close attention. The philosophical conflict at the core of this team was straightforward. White's system demanded possession-by-possession discipline, defensive stops, and zero freelancing on offense. The resistance inside the locker room argued differently. This isn't how modern basketball works anymore, and we're wasting talent trying to play a system from 20 years ago. The front office was trapped. They had invested financially in both White and their star players. They brought in sports psychologists to manage team chemistry. They held private meetings with key stakeholders. Nothing resolved the fracture. Water always finds the cracks in the dam, and this dam was about to break. The first cut came without warning. A core rotation player who had spoken openly in team meetings against White's defensive schemes was called into a brief meeting, given a short explanation, and walked out of the building. The official language from the front office referenced performance analytics and roster optimization, but sources inside the organization told a different story. This player had become the voice of dissent, speaking for those who felt equally constrained but were afraid to say so. The message sent through the locker room was immediate. Talent doesn't protect you. Output doesn't protect you. Compliance is the only currency. Players rushed to post public declarations of loyalty to White on social media. The second cut came 3 days later, not for poor performance, but for a close friendship with the first player removed. 2 voices are louder than one. The third and fourth departures followed within days. Players who had privately questioned playing time, offensive role, and the freedom to create.
She wasn't just managing a roster, she was conducting a purge, deliberate, targeted, and brutally effective. White chose a smaller, less talented, fully compliant roster over a more gifted but fractured one. The internal war was always going to produce visible casualties, and 3 days before opening night, the Fever made it official. 3 more women paid the price publicly. Megan McConnell, sister of Indiana Pacers guard T.J. McConnell, received her training camp opportunity while traveling to visit her brother in Indiana. Against Nigeria, she logged 11 minutes, recorded 3 steals and 3 assists, and brought consistent defensive energy. But the Fever backcourt was already carrying Clark, Mitchell, Johnson, Harris, and Walker Kimberly. There was no room available. The fairy tale ending in Indiana is officially over. McConnell enters a 48-hour waiver window before becoming an unrestricted free agent. Jessica Timmons, a rookie out of Alabama, scored 10 points on 4 of 6 shooting in her preseason debut and showed a quick scoring trigger. But GM Lynn Dunn and Stephanie White made a deliberate choice: veteran experience and proven defense over raw offensive potential. Kayana Traylor produced what many considered the strongest preseason performance among all Fever bubble players. Against the Liberty, she scored 8 points on 3 of 5 shooting and finished +8 in under 11 minutes. She defended, she scored, she executed everything a player on a non-guaranteed training camp contract could possibly be asked to do, and she was still cut. The numbers are the numbers. 144 spots in the entire league, 12 spots in Indiana, 15 women who deserved them. In the WNBA, you can do everything right and still go home. Nobody in the mainstream media is talking about the final 12-player roster actually looks like from a tactical standpoint. The guard rotation features Clark, Mitchell, Johnson, Harris, and Walker Kimberly. The guard rotation is deep, it is dangerous, and it is explicitly built to run in transition. Sophie Cunningham, Maisha Hines-Allen, and Monique Billings form the forward group, built around perimeter toughness and defensive switching. At center, Aaliyah Boston remains the franchise anchor. Michaela Timpson shot 8 of 9 from the field over the last 2 preseason games. Damiris Dantas hit 4 3-pointers against Nigeria, forcing opposing bigs out of the paint and opening driving lanes for Clark. The 13th position belongs to Justine Pissett on a developmental contract, activatable for only 12 of 44 regular season games under a CBA loophole that preserves cap space. 3 concerns are real and cannot be dismissed. Monique Billings shot 1 of 5 against Dallas. Damiris shot 2 of 11 in 1 preseason game. The front court behind Boston has not demonstrated consistent reliability against elite competition. Lexie Hull missed all 3 preseason games with a hamstring injury, and the front office has provided 0 timeline for her return. Lexie Hull, shooting 47% from 3 next to Caitlin Clark, is one of the most important weapons in this entire offensive system. Without her on the floor, defenses can trap, blitz, and collapse on Clark, and the offense loses its spacing entirely. Beyond the injury concerns, even assistant coaches privately questioned whether the psychological damage from the internal purge could fully heal before the season began. This roster is built for maximum explosive impact when healthy and maximum catastrophic vulnerability when injured. There is absolutely no middle ground for the Indiana Fever this year. At the league level, the WNBA announced its revised 2026 fine structure. Technical fouls rose from $200 to $500 for early infractions. The flagrant foul point system now values each point at $500 from $200, with a 1-game suspension at 4 points and a 2-game suspension at 6 points. Flopping fines were introduced for the first time. Critics responded immediately, arguing that with broadcast partners committing billions to this product, a 2.5x increase still fails to create genuine deterrence. A $10,000 flat fine for a first flagrant, $20,000 plus a game suspension for a second, and $30,000 plus a 2-game suspension for a third, would represent a real overhaul. The current structure does not. Alana Smith, the player who committed the dangerous flagrant against Clark just 5 days ago, walks back into Gainbridge High School on Saturday, May 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, the two most recent #1 overall picks in WNBA history, meet on national television. The preseason is finished. The cuts are done. The internal conflict has already reshaped this roster permanently. The PR games are over. The internal drama is done. The excuses are dead. Now the league finds out whether the Fever built a contender or simply survived a crisis long enough to reach opening night.
Drop thoughts in the comments, like, share, subscribe to Fast Break Daily